everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Core studio. Welcome to the show. So, on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about budget commanders that scale really well into the late game. Let's dominate with these and jump into it. So, first up, I've got one for you which is quite flexible, and that is Jaheira, Friend of the Forest. Now, I will say that the requirement for it being a budget commander is that you can well build a budget deck around it, and that it's not an exorbitantly expensive commander as it is. So, like, say, $5 or less. This one meets that requirement. And also, just a mention as well, if you want any of these cards in this episode, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. There are deck lists on some of these commanders throughout my channel. Make sure you check out those episodes. Anyways, this is an incredibly powerful commander. This, to me, is kind of like Urza-ish, but in a different way. Urza, obviously, is like, hey, really scary, really much a game changer because, again, artifacts are easily usable and abusable, but here's the thing. This commander can also kind of Urza, kind of make, your artifacts, in a way, tap as well, or other permanents as well. A 2/3 Human Elf Druid for 3 mana in green. Choose a background so you can actually utilize any background as a second commander. Typically, your thought process might be, okay, like, maybe pick the right color for this one, and that's probably the direction I would go. That being said, tokens you control have tap, add a green. So again, where Urza goes, artifacts tap for blue. This goes tokens tap for green. Yeah, you can build things up absurdly with this commander. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to, like, early game builds versus late game builds, you can definitely go a bit quicker with this one. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be pretty quick as it is, but it definitely scales into late game if you build it in a more conservative approach, I would say, when it comes to keeping things in play. So when it comes to certain things like tokens, you might be considering, I don't know, maybe food tokens or treasure tokens versus just creature tokens. If you're going full into creature tokens, you're probably going to go a bit more explosive early, and you might get taken out a little earlier because, again, there are more creature-based wraths out there, like Wrath of God type effects, essentially. That being said, if you're going wide with, say, food tokens, treasure tokens from something like Tireless Provisioner, land enters battlefield under your control, you get a food or treasure token. This is an absurdly powerful card. Again, Wizards, how in the world was this ever an uncommon? But yeah, being able to just flood the board with tokens with this is very easy. You can also do things with, yeah, sure, some creature tokens as well, but maybe one that generates creatures over time versus just like a little burst of creatures. A 3/5 spider, that's Arasta. With reach, whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, you make a 1/2 spider creature token with reach. So again, yes, there are other ways to make tokens, of course. But of course, there's ways to just say, you know what, I made tokens, let's just make more of those tokens. Peregrine Took. If one of our tokens be created under your control, those tokens plus additional food token are created instead. And by sacrificing 3 foods, you draw a card. You might not want to do that, though, because, again, all those tokens that you're making are basically mana rocks now. Also, the benefit of actually utilizing, again, these tokens that are not creatures is that they don't need haste. You can tap them right away for mana. Unlike Urza, where Urza kind of has the ability like, hey, tap an untapped artifact you control, add a blue. I believe it's something like that. This commander gives your tokens the ability to tap, which means that your creatures are a bit slower. But yeah, again, Peregrine Took making you, again, a food token. You don't care what kind of token it is as long as it's not a creature. Yeah, now you basically just get an extra mana rock, which is insane. Bootlegger Stash is crazy good with this deck. 34 cents for this gem. Land you control have tap, create a treasure token. Yeah, that is absolutely incredible. Again, this is basically just, hey, double up your mana base every single turn when it comes to your lands, and you can utilize that mana right away. Again, this commander, I literally just showed you essentially only green cards for it, right? But you're going to have access to even more if you pick a background that's outside of green. You've got a lot of amazing cards to build up a massive horde of tokens in play that is going to be just so much more mana than your opponents could ever dream of having. This is a commander that, yes, you can build in different ways. Again, you can go full-on creatures, full-on creature tokens if you really want to. But my recommendation to you is maybe either do like a balance of the two, or, yeah, maybe lean more heavily even into those tokens that are more likely to stay around for longer. The tokens like food tokens, treasure tokens, etc., 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 and just have those be able to tap for mana right away. Play the late game and just destroy your opponents with so much mana. Have fun with this one. Next up, Marin of Clan Nel Toth. This is one that, well, really scales into the late game in a different way. A 56-cent commander, so very budget-friendly, and yeah, you can build some crazy good budget builds around this one. A 3/4 Human Shaman for 4 mana in Golgari. Whenever the creature you control dies, you get an experience counter. On top of that, at the beginning of your end step, choose target creature card in your graveyard. That card's mana value is less or equal to the number of experience counters you have. Return to the battlefield. Otherwise, put in your hand. Here's the thing. This builds in both ways. First of all, the later the game goes, the more likely you are to have more things into your graveyard. You are more able to set yourself up to get the right creatures there or just get a massive amount of things there. And of course, on top of that, the longer the game goes, something that to this point your opponents cannot deal with, cannot stop, you're going to be having more experience counters. That is something that your opponents literally cannot stop you from getting. You start getting more and more experience counters, you've got proliferate effects, etc., etc., etc. At a certain point, you will literally have more experience counters than you have, mana value, the max mana value out of your deck, which is absolutely incredible because then you can just, reanimate absolutely anything. So yes, of course, again, throughout the game, Evolution Sage, again, another card where it's like Taylor's Provision, it's like Wizards. How was this ever an uncommon? It's amazing. 3/2 Elf Druid for 3 mana in green. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under control, proliferate. So, again, on top of you getting creatures out, them dying, you probably sacrificing them dying again, getting a lot of value out of them because, Mirren's great at getting them back into play. You're going to be getting a lot of experience counters that way. But of course, Proliferate is a way to hypercharge that process and make it so much quicker. Another card that just became underneath $2 with a recent reprint, Artifact for 3, Staff of Completion, tap, pay 1 life, store target perma you own, tap, pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color, tap, pay 3 life, Proliferate, tap, pay 4 life, draw a card, tap, pay, not pay, just pay 5, untap this artifact. You had to tap, pay 5 to untap it. It can be kind of useless. Anyways, this is very, very, very effective in multiple ways for this deck. Again, that first one, usually it'd be like, why would I ever want to destroy a permanent you own? Yeah, plenty of reasons. The opponent steals it, or again, for this kind of a deck, it's like, oh, that creature's got a great ETB. Let's utilize that again by taking out that creature, putting it back in the graveyard, and doing it again with Maren. This one also obviously is a mana rock, but also proliferating with this too, and drawing cards. That's quite nice. That being said, of course, the longer the game goes, the more mill you can do with a deck like this, the more ways to get cards in graveyards, from entombing effects or again mill effects. Golgari Grave Tool is a great one. Enters the battlefield, they counter on for each creature on your graveyard, so this can become a threat throughout the game. That being said, Dredge 6 is the big thing with this one. By being able to just keep milling yourself again and again and again for a ton, yeah, you can get some pretty crazy things in your graveyard, like, say, Grey Merchant of Asphodel. Again, getting something like this in your graveyard, getting more things in play, you're going to be draining your opponents quickly. Enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life for extra devotion to black. You gain life, you life lost this way. Gary is a crazy good creature, especially for a commander like this. Again, once you're set up, you're like, okay, I get it out. I drain my opponents. I sacrifice it. End step comes, I get it out. I do it again and again and again. Or you can just get something massive out like Ulamog's Crusher and be like, okay, cool, yeah, I've got enough experience counters. Basically nothing in my deck costs more than the amount of experience counters I have. So sure, let's get some Eldrazi out and just have fun. An 8/8 Eldrazi for 8 mana, Annihilator 2 attacks each combat of Fable. Yeah, I want to attack each combat of Fable. Good for me. And if you deal with it, I'm going to get it right back out again. So there, have fun. Merit of Glenelg Toth, again, is one that builds throughout the game again for multiple reasons. Again, you are able to get more things in your graveyard, curate your graveyard, get the right things in your graveyard, get ways to maybe sacrifice those creatures that you keep getting back out again and again and again. And of course, most obviously, get another experience counters to the point where it does not matter. Again, you literally have more experience counters than you have creatures that have mana value greater than them. So your opponents cannot stop that. When it comes to, milling and getting things into graveyards and getting things elsewhere, though, Grolnok the Omnivore is incredible when it comes to late game building because, again, like Maren, it's got something that your opponents can't really stop. It's a 3/3 frog for 4 mana in Simic. Whenever a frog you control attacks, mill 3 cards. Now, many players out there think, oh, I don't want to play that. That's just like frog tribal, and I don't really want to play that. That's, not what I'm about. There's not that many good frogs out there. There's a couple, but still, yeah, I understand that. That's okay. What matters, though, is whenever a permanent card is put in your graveyard from your library, exile that crow counter on it. You may play lands and cast spells from one card you own and exile crow counters on them. You don't have to build all frogs for this to work. In fact, you don't even have to attack with this commander. If there's no good attacks with this commander, don't do it. Don't just send your commander into danger unless you can make a deal with an opponent and be like, hey, block with your sad robot and I'll attack you with this. Okay, cool, awesome, I mill, yay. Yeah, you've got other ways to mill, so do that. But again, throughout the game, the more and more permanents that you mill from your library and put into your graveyard, all of a sudden, the more cards that you own basically are stashed out there that you own, that your opponents cannot stop you from having basically a secondary, massive, huge hand, which can just get out of control in absolutely no time. I mean, even a recent card like Stillness in Motion is very good with this kind of a commander. Enchant for 2 mana in blue. Beginning of your upkeep, mill 3 cards. Then if your library has no cards in it, exile this enchantment. Put 5 cards in your graveyard on top of your library in any order. All right, this is like a really weird like Doomsday version. Like, you don't need to like build into like, oh, I'm playing Doomsday with this commander. No, it's just a really good like repeat mill for 2 mana. So yeah, use that. Or how about, well, Kishla Skimmer. A Bird Scout, a 2/2 for 2 mana in Simic with flying. Whenever a card leaves your graveyard during your turn, draw a card. Appears only once each turn. I mean, just the amount of advantage you're going to be getting off of something small like this throughout the game is crazy good because, again, your card goes in your library, hits your graveyard, and then goes back to exile. So all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, draw a card. Thank you. Or when it comes to cast things out of your graveyard, but more likely exile, yes. Dark Orlock. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost or exile cost 2 less to cast. Plotting cards in your hand cost 2 less. Yeah, again, reducing the cost of your exiled cards to cast by 2 is pretty crazy, especially for a 2-mana creature. I mean, we also have that on Sage of the Beyond, so yeah, there's multiple ways to do this. Spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast, and this one can actually be cast from exile as well with the Foretell. That being said, again, once we're set up properly, once we build up this glut of cards in exile, we're going to have so many things to cast so quickly. Yeah, again, this is a commander that really builds into the late game, because it has a resource building machine that your opponents, again, cannot interact with. They can't really stop you from doing things from exile. I mean, there's like that one Eldrazi mechanic or whatever that no one ever plays that I can't, it's like ingest. Yeah, no one plays that. It's garbage. It's terrible. But yeah, basically there's no way for your opponents to like take your things away from exile. So therefore, you're going to build up like this second like Muldrotha-like hand. But again, one that essentially your opponents can't touch versus Muldrotha, where the graveyard can very easily be interacted with. That being said, exile cannot be at this point. So there you go, Gralnok the Omnivore, a great late game commander. Let's keep things rolling though, and this time we're going to roll in a different direction with this sick art of Mogus, God of Slaughter. Yeah, there we go. A 7/5 god that is indestructible for 4 mana and Rakdos. I should say it's also an enchantment creature. As long as your devotion in black and red is less than 7 and isn't a creature, at the beginning of each month's upkeep deals 2 damage to that player unless they sacrifice a creature. This one I'm just going to kind of utilize as a representation of a kind of playstyle as well. When it comes to Group Slug can definitely be a strategy that can go really quick, yes, but it also, depending on the commander, depending on the build, can be one that can go supercharged late game. It can be so hard to stop once you're set up properly because, well, Mogus itself is pretty hard to stop. Mogus is indestructible. Mogus might not always be a creature as well, and so it could just be like an indestructible enchantment. Good luck dealing with it. The longer the game goes, the more punishment this is doling out to your opponents. Again, either damage, which, well, maybe we've got some ways to double that up or take more advantage of it, or again, on top of that, hey, if you don't do that, sacrifice creature, have fun. But of course, again, we've got ways, many more ways to punish our opponents. Sulfuric Vortex, a great one. Enchant for 3 mana in red. We give each player's upkeep 2 damage to that player. Player would gain life. They don't gain life. Yes, this affects us as well. We will have other ways to maybe mitigate damage or to double up damage on opponents to make sure that we are actually punishing them more than we're getting punished ourselves. That being said, again, the more things we get in play, the more group sluggy type effects, the more pressure we put on our opponents, and the more devastation we cause them. Painful Quandary. Speaking of one that's only for our opponents, here you go, so much fun. An enchant for 5 mana in black. Whenever opponent casts a spell, they lose 5 life unless they discard a card. Again, building up this glut of resources in play for us. These resource deniers, I guess I would say, but more so punishers maybe, because you don't have to discard that card. You can just lose the 5 life. You got plenty of life. It's Commander, right? The more of these you build up, the more difficult your opponent's decisions become. Or you can just go with Dictate of the Twin Gods and really speed things up. Enchant for 5 mana with Flash. If a sorcery deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. Being able to double up your damage dealing effects can be pretty crazy and, again, really put pressure on opponents. Or how about Havoc Festival? An enchantment for 6 mana in Rakdos. Players can't gain life. If you give each player's upkeep, well, that player loses half their life rounded up. Again, it's going to be starting on upkeep, so the opponent to your left is starting before you do. You're the last person in the turn order, so yeah, this is a great way to go. Hey, everyone, life totals are going to sink down really quickly, really fast, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Mogus, God of Slaughter again, and these kind of like group sluggy type commanders are ones that, yes, can be a bit quicker too, but if you are building more of a permanent strategy, more of a strategy of like, okay, I'll get up those punishing artifacts, those punishing enchantments. Mogus as well. Build up some equity on the board, essentially. Build up some ways to maybe pad my own life total ahead of time, or make it so that my damage dealt to myself is less, or that is more to opponents. You can build up just a very threatening, very, very potent late game strategy that your opponents are going to be, well, hard pressed to stop. Now let's switch up strategies, though, and talk about Brago King Eternal, another fantastic budget-friendly commander that can build a very powerful late-game presence that can be very difficult to stop with the amount of value that you can generate. A 2/4 Spirit with flying for 4 mana in Azorius. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of target non-land permanents you control. There are 2 of those cards of battlefield. Other is controlled. It's not other, actually. So anyways, Brago, what you're doing with this one is getting a bunch of things out with some ETBs, blinking them, and all of a sudden, getting them back out again and again and again. Getting so much value out of your ETBs. So obviously with this kind of a commander, the longer the game goes, the more things you have in play that you can utilize the ETBs of. And with that, again, there are different strategies of this one, and I'm not saying the creature-based strategy is wrong. I'm just saying that a more long-game approach might be to utilize some more hardy permanents, ones that stay in play a bit longer potentially than just creatures, because again, the most common type board wipe out there is like a Wrath of God, which takes away, well, creatures. That being said, Lembas! Yeah, even a card like Lembas can be great for a commander like this. Artifact for 2, enters the battlefield, scry 1, and then draw a card. On top of that, when it's been the grave from the battlefield, its owner shovels in a library. Cool. But yeah, and you can also, do the food thing. That being said, just a small effect like this, again, ETB, scry 1, draw a card. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like 1.5 cards in a way, or maybe, I can't remember, someone did the math back in the day, like, what does scry equal compared to card draw? It's like a third of a card, I guess, maybe, or something like that. It's extra value, right? It's a low to the ground artifact that you get into play, you get immediate value out of, but again, the longer this stays in play with this commander, the more scrying and drawing you're going to be doing. So yeah, it's an investment essentially. Oath of Jace, yet another great investment. I'm going to read the second part first, which I usually don't on cards, but here we go. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry X the number of planeswalkers you control. You don't need to care about that in this deck. You don't have to be like, well, I don't have planeswalkers, so either I need to add them for this card or not play it. No. You can literally just ignore that part. It does not matter. Enters the battlefield, draw 3, discard 2. That is only 1 card advantage, but it is a great way to dig down in your deck very quickly again by going, okay, basically like, hey, get 3 cards, get rid of the worst 2 cards in my hand. I'm going to have a lot of card draw with this deck. Digging down further with this can really help and get me the right cards that I need. Or how about They Came From the Pipes? Champ for 5 mana in blue. When it enters, manifest red twice. And again, manifest red means look at the top 2 cards of your library. One goes on about battlefield face down, they face down to 2 creature. Other in your graveyard, and then you can turn it face up anytime for its mana cost, say creature card. On top of that, whenever a face down creature control enters, draw a card. Again, you don't have to have any other synergies when it comes to face down creatures with this commander. What you need is literally, okay, this, ETBs, I draw 2, I make 2 2/2s, and I can flip those things over with my commander. So I don't even have to pay to flip them up. Such a valuable card for a commander like this. Or just even like a Spine of Ishtar, right? Artifact for 7, ETB, destroy target permanent. Very simple, very effective. But in the graveyard, you also bring it back to your hand. That's quite nice. But again, you're just going to be utilizing this again and again and again. Destroying something, getting it back. Destroying something, getting it back. And all of a sudden, yeah, that amount of blink on this can just be crazy. Brago King Eternal, again, is one that can build up over time, can be such a presence on the board, and can just make it so that, hey, you know what? Opponents, unless you've got any kind of a board wipe that can deal with all my things, you're going to be in big trouble because I built up this value engine that is basically unstoppable. I've got a hand the size of New Jersey. I don't know why I picked New Jersey. It's not that big of a state. Anyways, I've got so much value and so many things that I can blink. Again, yes, you can go like full-in creatures, absolutely, and definitely utilize some creatures, right? But when it comes to, again, maybe thinking a more long-term approach, pick those hardier kind of cards. Like, pick those enchantments, those artifacts that are going to stick and play a bit longer. All right, buckle up for this next one. Maybe one of like the OG kind of, commanders that were actually made, obviously, but also one that's like an OG kind of like late-game commander in a way, but also quite quick. Because this one is one that truly becomes a just disturbing threat over time. That your opponents will just like, they'll have nightmares of it essentially throughout the game. They're like, oh, where's Skullbrier? When's it coming back? Because there is no stopping this once it gets going. Unless, of course, an opponent puts a -1/-1 counter on it right away, but that's a different story for a different day. Anyways, a 1/1 zombie elemental with haste for 2 mana in Golgari. When it deals combat to a player, you get a counter on it. Counters remain on it as it moves to any zone other than player's hand or library. So this is a card that literally maintains its counters. It is unlike basically anything else out there. I can't even think of like any other card that really does this. There's ones that like distribute their counters when they get taken out, but this one's like, no. I keep my counters even in death, or even in like the command zone. I don't know. That's technically not death, right? But anyways, Skullbrier is one where you just build throughout the game. Again, it's just a 1/1 opponents. It's just a 1/1. You got nothing to be scared about. By the way, it's turn 6, turn 7, turn 8. This thing's got 40 counters on it. It's got all these other keyword counters on it, and it's now unstoppable. Good luck, opponents, because I've got some very simple cards like Gift of the Viper. That's right, the simple 1 mana 18-cent instant is insane with this. Put a counter on it, a reach counter, and a death touch counter on it. Lovely. 3 different types of counters on this, and we get to untap it too, I guess I should say. 3 different types of counters on this that will all stick with it that are all relevant, especially that death touch. If you get a trample counter on it too, have fun. Or how about Unexpected Fangs, +1 counter, and lifelink? You are just basically permanently stapling on a keyword to your commander. What kinds of cards can do that? Again, permanently stapling on where, like, no matter where your commander goes, it still gets that when it comes right back. Okay, so like there's no way to stop that. Or how about Daring Fiend Bonder? One that you really want to staple onto it, Indestructible. There's also one that does Hexproof too, but Indestructible with this one. 5/1 Human Warlock with haste, attacks each combat of Fable. By paying 1 and a black, exile from your graveyard, put an indestructible counter on target creature, activate it only time you cast a sorcery. So yeah, being able to make your commander permanently indestructible, who doesn't want that? And of course, yeah, regular +1 counters. There's a ton of ways to get a lot of them on this. Yeah, Corpse Jack Menace, a great way to double that up even. 1 or more counters we put on a creature you control, twice that many are put on instead. Yeah, being able to double those up and getting so many counters on your commander so quickly, it's a lot of fun. And again, it is one that builds in the late game because, again, even if it keeps getting dealt with, it doesn't matter. It keeps those counters. There's no rebuilding with this commander. There's no like, well, I guess I had the Voltron commander. It got taken out. Now I've got to re-Voltron it. I got to get back into play, get more counters on it. No. Once it is Voltron, it is assembled, and it doesn't matter where it goes. If it goes back to your command zone, it is keeping those counters. It is coming back with a vengeance, and it will take your opponents out. Such a good late-game commander.
Moving forward, we got Jacob Hawken, Inspector.
Don't know why I talk like that when I think about Jake and Hawk, but like,
Jacob Hawken, Inspector.
sometimes I think it's that. I also, sometimes it's more like a boss accent, I think, too. Anyways. All right, a 0/2 Human Advisor for 2 mana in blue. Tap, draw a card, then exile a card from your hand, face down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled. You may pay 6 mana in total in blue. If you do, transform Jacob Hawken, Inspector. Switches over to Hawken's Insight. Legendary enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at the top card for as long as it remains exiled. Once during each of your turns, you may play a land or cast a spell from among cards, exile this with this permanent without paying its mana cost. This is one that really does build throughout the game. It really does do kind of like that Grolnak thing, but like in a different approach. This is one where you can get it down super early. Again, it's basically a Merfolk Looter, which is fantastic. But instead of discarding those cards, you're exiling them, which usually would be worse, but is so much better with this commander because, yeah, I don't need cards in my graveyard. I need to exile them with this so that all of a sudden I can build up to that point where I flip this over and then I'm just playing things for free. Playing things for massive things for free. So you can do things like, well, yeah, sure, throughout the game, building up in a different way. Scourge of Fleets. 6/6 Kraken for 7 mana in blue. ETBs turn each creature opponents control toughness extra less to his hands or X number of islands you control. This one actually builds itself as well, right? You know, the more turns go on, the more islands you have in play, and then all of a sudden you're just bouncing all your opponent's things. And again, for free, because Jacob Hawken's Insight, just Hawken's Insight, I guess I should say, is bouncing everything for you for free. Emanatu's Augury, another massive card that, again, early on in the game, you do not want in your hand. You don't want to be like, oh, okay, turn 1. Oh, what do I do with this 8 mana card? Oh, gosh. Okay, well, no. Yeah, with this commander, it's like, okay, sweet. This is in my hand. Great. Okay, I'll play Jacob Hawken. All right, next turn, I'll tap, draw a card. I'll exile this. I don't need to worry about casting it. I'll cast it for free later. Exile the top 8 cards of your library. Put a land card from them on the battlefield. Until end of turn, for each null card type, you may cast a spell with the exiled type without paying its mana cost. Cast so many things for free off the top of your library. Speaking of free, more free. One with the Multiverse. Move the top card of your library anytime. Play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a spell from your hand or the top of your library, paying its mana cost. Again, yet another way to cheat things into play, to play things for free. And you know what the top of your library is, which is a very valuable thing to do, especially when you have well, yeah, I mean, a glut of resources, essentially. Sphinx the Second Sun as well. 6/6 Sphinx with flying for 8 mana in blue. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, the additional beginning phase after this phase, which again includes untap, upkeep, and draw. Extra draw for you, but obviously also, hey, again, once during each of your turns, on that upkeep, you are exiling the top card of your library. So you get to exile even more than with this enchantment. Yeah, Jacob Hawken, Inspector, is such a cool commander. One that, again, goes about things in a different way. It's kind of like 2 commanders in one. And it says, you know what? Early on, don't worry about those massive spells that we can't play. We don't care about those. What we care about is building up that value. Basically, that extra hand in a way that our opponents can't deal with. And all of a sudden get to casting things for free, which maybe helps you cast even more things for free, and even more things for free.
Jacob Hawken Inspector is so much fun.
Now this next one definitely deserves your attention, and it got my attention with that price because the combo Primal Calamity used to be so expensive. Now it's just like 85 cents. That's amazing. This is one where I was looking through, like when I was making the list, I was like, wait, that commander is less than $5. Not only is it less than 5, it's less than 1. Amazing! Yes, the Common Primal Calamity, definitely a commander that is so good late game. In fact, disturbingly good late game. A 9/9 Elder Dinosaur with Vigilance, Reach, and Trample, keyword soup, for 9 mana in Naya. Enters the battlefield if you cast it, untap all lands you control by paying 3 in red, deals 3 damage to our creature. 3 in green, to our target artifact or enchantment. 3 in white, you gain 3 life. This is one where literally the more resources you have, the better. This is basically what this is. And it is just like an unstoppable force when it's in play. Such a powerhouse. And also one that sometimes you're like, well, I built the entire deck around not really having it in play. It's like, okay, it goes into play, leaves play, goes into play, leaves play. We'll talk about that here in a second. But again, basically, this thing can control so many things. Again, being able to just destroy artifacts and enchantments, take out creatures, gain life if you need it, and give you a massive influx of mana. When it comes to like a late game build for this one, yeah, we can bring up the combos. I mean, there are combos with this one too, like Team or Sabretooth. Also a card that's been like more expensive, but now less than $1. Awesome. 4/3 Cat for 4 mana in green. By paying 2 mana in green, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, Team or Sabretooth gains indestructible until end of turn. Basically, it is a card that says, hey, you know what? Usually I'm up to no good. By being able to play this commander, if you have just basically 11 mana, then you're like, okay, I play my commander. I pay 2, I bring my commander back to my hand. I do it again and again and again and again and again. Yeah, you need like other ways to actually win from there, but if you have 12 mana, congratulations, you've got infinite mana. Rules layers out there, I know it's not infinite, but a trillion, whatever it is, okay? You've got infinite mana, you've got all those activated abilities that you can activate as many times as you want, essentially destroy all the artifacts and enchantments you don't want, gain infinite life, 3 damage to all the opponent's creatures, take them all out. You probably just have ways to win if you've got infinite mana, though. That being said, outside of that long-term strategy, I mean, just building up your board with, like, value engines, like, Zerta the Dawnwaker with this commander is insane, which can be your companion if you actually build around that, but you don't have to. 3/3 Elemental Fox for 3 mana in Boros. Companion, each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability. If you want to do that, great. If you don't, that's okay. Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana cost in less than 1 mana. Yeah, this basically says, hey, Zakama, let's take your abilities and hypercharge them. Pay a single red, lightning bolt a creature. Pay a single green, take out any artifact or enchantment. Huh. Yeah, naturalize. Thank you. Or pay a single white, gain 3 life. Yeah, I mean, that's the, what's the Balm one? Like the worst out of that, like, initial 5 set where they're like, Ancestral Recall. Haha, yes, that's really good, right? Draw 3. A lightning bolt, very good as well. Giant growth, kind of. I mean, Dark Ritual. Yeah, let's go back up. And then Balm! I can't remember what the name of that one is. It's so bad. But yeah, like the 1 mana, 3 life. It's bad. But when on a repeatable ability on a commander, it's very good. Or how about Wilderness Reclamation? Enchant for 4 mana. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. Again, literally this having it so that, okay, I play my commander, I get my mana back. Oh, guess what? On my opponent's turns, I also get my mana back. You're getting basically 3 times the amount of mana. And of course, speaking of times the amount of mana reflection, cards like this, enchant for 6 mana in green. You tap a permanent for mana, produces twice that much mana instead, doubling up the value of your lands. Again, the later the game goes, the more lands you have in play, the more you get to untap, and the more mana you get to produce. Zakama Primal Calamity is a calamity. It is just that. It is something that is absolutely threatening. It's just something that's like a big shadow in the command zone. And your opponents are like, well, we're doing fine because that player is not really doing that much. I mean, they're building up a couple things on the board, right? But oh my goodness, here comes the giant dinosaur and we're all in trouble and gone. Yes, this is a commander that definitely builds really well in the late game. Pick it up. You're not ready for this next pick, and neither are your opponents. Marisil the Pretender, an oldie but a goodie. Probably one that has been forgotten over the years, but it should not be. This is a disgustingly powerful commander, again, that really scales into the late game because, yeah, again, kind of like some of the other commanders we've talked about where it's like you're stashing things elsewhere. This might be the best kind of stash commander out there because it can do some really gross things. A 4/4 human wizard for 4 mana in Grixis enters the battlefield. You may exile an artifact or creature card from your hand or graveyard, put a cage counter on it. Again, it's an exile. Your opponents can't touch it unless they're playing like a weird Eldrazi deck that's like, ingest, tribal. No one does that. Has all activated abilities of all cards you own in exile with cage counters on them. You may activate each of those abilities only once each turn. Yeah, this is such a fun commander that is absolutely disgusting. You just say, okay, what cards out there, what creatures out there, what artifacts out there have the best activated abilities? I want those. I want all those activated abilities, and I want to utilize them again and again and again. And again, literally, you're just kind of like Skullbrier, building up this commander. You are Voltroning, I mean, in this way to different way. You're not like building up like, oh, a massive amount of counters on it or whatnot. You are building all these abilities. You're stacking all these abilities onto this one commander and saying it is all those things at once. Every single one of those things. One of my favorite cards of all time when I was younger. And I mean, I don't really play that much because it's not that good in Commander typically for most decks, but is amazing in this one. Aetherlink. I love this card. Such a cool concept for a card. It's based off of other, lings. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but still. A 4/5 shapeshifter for 6 mana in blue. Pay a blue, exile, return to the battlefield. Arts control being next end step. Pay a blue, it's unblockable this turn. Pay 1, +1, -1. Pay another 1, -1, +1. This is like the ultimate flexibleness of a card. It's like, okay, like, if I don't like things that are going on, I'm getting my commander out of here. And it comes back. And it has this ability again. And it also gets that ETB. So I get to exile something else. Or I can make it unblockable. Awesome. It's amazing. Endling, another one of the new lings as well. 3/3 zombie shapeshifter for 4 mana in black. Pay a black, medicine on turn. Pay a black, death touch on turn. Pay a black, undying. Comes back. Or pay 1, and they simplified it this time. +1 or -1. So there you go. Lots of effects. Or just one simple one. I guess this has 2. I forget about the second one, but still. Tap, draw 3 cards. Arcanist Omnipotent, another one of my favorite cards from my childhood. Being able to combine this with this commander and say, you know what? Now I can tap for 3. By the way, yes, I can also bounce myself too. By paying 2 blue, bounce back to its owner's hand, or just skip the whole tapping part with Asmodeus the Archfiend by paying black to draw 7 cards. Again, Asmodeus says, I guess technically you could activate that last ability, but you don't have to, because Asmodeus has a downside to it. If you draw a card, you exile top card of your library face down instead. With this commander, again, with Marisil, you just get the activated abilities. You don't get that downside. So this is just, okay, whenever you want, pay 3 mana to draw 7. What is going on? Your opponent's like, what? Your commander can do that? Your commander can do that? Oh, no, I forgot that card existed. Again, this commander makes cards that people forgot existed become amazing. Or just Nevin rolls disc. You're like, you know what? I don't like what's going on here. Hey, I'm going to pay 1, tap, destroy artifacts, creatures, and enchantments on my commander. Maybe I've got something that gives it undying or whatnot. Or again, I can activate, then blink it away. There are amazing things that you can do with Marisil the Pretender. And again, the later the game goes, the more cards you have out there with cage counters on them, the more difficult, the more impossible it is for your opponents to stop. Okay, I've been waiting the entire episode to bring this one up, though, because, as many of you know, Jodah Archmage Eternal is one of my favorite commanders of all time. I've actually built 2 decks around it. And my second deck is my favorite one that probably my favorite deck I've ever built. I absolutely love this commander. And it is one that scales so well into the late game. It is such a simple concept for a commander. A 4/3 human wizard flying for 4 mana in Jeskai, but it's not Jeskai because it's the best color identity of all time. 5 color. You may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost for spells you cast. This is basically Fist of Suns in the command zone, which is so much fun. It says, hey, all those big mana cards that you've always wanted to play that cost too much, and you maybe include 1 or 2 in a deck, include all of them. Just take all those and say, you know what? They're all yours. But also, if you're Mitch, maybe you're going to build a deck where you're like, let's do some really weird things. Let's ramp an absurd amount and in some different ways with a unique card that I'll talk about here in a little bit. And then, you know what we're going to do is we're going to get some ways to double up some spells. And then we're going to play a very specific spell and then copy it so many times. So again, the later the game goes, the more resources you have and the more fun you can have with it. So let's talk about some things like Clarion Ultimatum. That's right, Clarion Ultimatum. The ultimatum you've never heard about because it's never seen play in Commander because it's garbage in Commander, except in 5 color strategies, especially ones with Jodah because Again, this really ridiculous mana value. Green, green, blue, or blue, blue, white, white, white. Not sure I said that out of order, but I did. Sorcery. Again, it's very specific, but still, with Joda, it's just Wooburg, because you pay Wooburg. Choose 5 permanents you control. For each of those permanents, you may search life for a card with the same name as that permanent, but those on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Here's the thing. Again, we're in Commander, it's a singleton format, but here's the thing. Basic lands, you can go do that with basic lands. So, it doubles up basically another Joda activation, which is absolutely incredible. That's what you're looking for. Just, hey, okay, how many Joda activations can I get in a turn? How many times can essentially, and yes, rules lawyers out there, I know you're not actually activating Joda. How many Wooburgs can I get on the battlefield, basically? Or how about Prismatic Geoscope? And just battlefield tap, domain, tap at X mana, any combination of colors, your mana pool, which is going to be Wooburg. X number of basic land types among lands you control. Yeah, we're going to have all 5, all right? You know what? Even in 5 color, yeah, you should be playing a ton of basics. You should be ramping properly, fixing properly. And this is just basically, okay, another free Joda activation. And yes, I'm going to keep saying activation, though it's not activation. Also getting out Swarm Intelligence. Again, something that costs 7. It's one of those cards that's like the top end of many decks. But this is like, you know what? For Joda, it's just another card. Enchantment for 7 mana, but you pay 5. Whenever you cast an instant short spell, you may copy that spell, choose targets to the copy. Yeah, being able to do that, it's like, okay, cool. Copy all my ramp spells. Copying a Clarion Ultimatum, my goodness, so much fun. But yeah, copying a copy spell even to copy a copy spell, and then casting Villainous Wealth. Yeah, Villainous Wealth is one of my favorite cards of all time, maybe even my favorite card of all time. Sorcery for X and Solitude. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X less from one of them without paying their mana cost. Cast a big one of these, copy it so many times, and all of a sudden, your opponents can't stop it because they're not going to have counter spells to counter all the copies. And then all of a sudden, you just take all your opponent's things and you win the game. This is one where, again, Joda can be built in a lot of different ways, but yeah, it typically is so good late game because you're going to have bomb after bomb after bomb, just throwing those into play like they're candy because you've got so much mana that you built up throughout the game. Again, with things like Clarion Ultimatum or Prismatic Geoscope, or more so Clarion Ultimatum, and maybe a copy spell for that you have so many different ways to cast so many different things that your opponent's going to be like, we have to deal with that. Oh, no, we have to deal with that. Oh, we have to deal with that. Oh, no. Or they're just like, what is that player doing? They're just like amassing lands and not doing anything. Okay, like they got a Swarm Intelligence out, but oh my gosh, they just cast so many copy spells into Villainous Wealth. Okay, that's the game. Yeah, if you're playing against my Joda deck, that's probably what it's going to be doing. So just a warning. Just remember that, okay? That being said, again, a really good long game commander that is so budget friendly. Finally, though, at the end of the day, let's wrap things up and talk about, well, just how there are a lot of commanders out there that are budget-friendly. There are a lot of commanders out there that are late-game friendly, if that's a term. But being able to essentially combine the two and say, okay, what budget-friendly commanders can I utilize that can win me the game late, that can build up those resources? Here is an amazing one again. Build up those tokens, especially the non-creature tokens, and just utilize them right away like an Urza, essentially, and use that background effectively to pick the right color that you need. Or again, Jacob Hawk and Inspector. Lower the ground, get it out there, get things into exile, and get them saved up to cast for free later. Again, your opponents can't really touch your exile unless they have like the ingest creatures, which no one has ingest. Skullbrier, again, build up those counters throughout the game. Build up so many different counters on this, and all of a sudden, again, it's a Voltron that never, ever, ever shrinks. That never says, oh no, I must reassemble the pieces of Voltron. No. It is always Voltron once it's Voltron. Brago, King Eternal, again, get all those things into play. Blink them again, and especially with the non-creatures, make them hardier, make them harder to deal with. Grolnok, build up that just glut of resources. Build up those Croak counter cards. That's a weird phrase, but Croak counter cards in exile that, again, your opponents, the non-ingest Eldrazi players, cannot deal with. Marisil the Pretender, being able to build up, again, this Voltron commander in a different way. One that just amasses so many cool activated abilities. You've got to have, like, a spreadsheet that shows, like, this is all the abilities. I've got 47 abilities on my commander. Wait a moment. Let me see if I can respond to that. Yes, I have an ability for that. Okay, I'll utilize that. Joda Archmage Eternal, again, casts massive things for fun. Or just, Villainous Wealth, people, because it's fun, too. Marin of Clan Elftop, again, throughout the game, get more things into your graveyard, get more experience counters than you ever need, so you can just keep reanimating some massive things like Gary or Eldrazi or whatever you want to do. Mogus, God of Slaughter, rock on Mogus, being able to get a lot of different group sluggy type cards in play, decimate your opponent's life totals, and just have fun doing that. And of course, the combo Primal Calamity, I still can't get over this, is 85 cents right now, go get it right now, it's a gem. Yeah, get a lot of lands into play, untap those lands, get other resources that make you have, more value to your lands, and utilize those abilities maybe in different ways, like Zerda. Yeah, have fun with this one and all of these. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.